Hey, it's DJ, the host of Sound Leadership with DJ, and today I'm here for a live episode with my good friend Laurie Loughney. So this is not the conventional Sound Leadership with DJ. As you saw, I didn't have the intro. I didn't have, I don't have all the production that I usually do. I'm just here to talk to my good friend. I called her up and said, "Hey, Laurie, I know that you're passionate about long-term care. I'm passionate about long-term care. I look at you as a mentor, so I need to just get you live so we can talk about some of the things that we talk about live, so people can hear our conversations because our conversations are a little different." Lori has been dedicated to transferring the healthcare industry since 1987. She's an expert at being a nursing home administrator, and she's also a certified assisted living administrator. She's excellent at infection control, and she's an NC CDP educator. Lori focuses on staff development and retention. That's what sets her apart from everyone else. She's also the CEO of Longtree Associates, where she leads with innovation and a commitment to excellence. So today, once again, I'm doing something a little different. I am live with Lori. Without further ado, yes, it is time to bring her on. Welcome, Lori. How are you doing today?
Hey, it's so nice to see you. Thank you. That's really cool. I
Listen,
love that. Live with Lori. And Demetrius, I feel the same way about you. I have learned a lot from you in our conversation. So it's exciting that we're doing a podcast together.
yes, I don't people ask me all the time. They say, "Demetrius, and I preach it, right? You got to have a mentor." And I don't say this often, but when somebody says, well, who do you look up to? I look up to Lori, and this is the honest to
Oh,
God truth. I know we've known each other for just about a year, but what you've shared with me, the knowledge you've shared with me in this year has been amazing, and it has been transformational as I navigate the field as a healthcare consultant here in the middle of the ocean, right? I mentioned it. You have years of experience, and you didn't just arrive, right? You've worked to get to where you are. So, I usually do an introduction, but I didn't want to take away from who you are. So tell us, Lori, who are you?
so thanks so much. That's really fun. And it's fun to kind of think that, I always say that people mentored me. I started as a nurse's aide. And I
Yes.
always tell the story that our director of nursing was 21 and I was 18. Honest to God, it was like the kids were running the nursing home. And I learned so much. Her name was Terry. And I remember that she always taught us and educated us to be leaders. And I think that's the key, that no matter what role you play in healthcare, you
Yeah.
are a leader, whether you are that frontline certified nurse's aide, which I do love, those certified empowerment officers, because that's all about person-centered care. And
Yes.
so through, I always feel like I was kind of, baptized with fire, and through all those years of becoming an activity director, an admissions director, an administrator, executive director, a vice president, a COO, and now I'm here with my own company, Longtree Associates. But there was
Hey.
always something about knowing to be a good leader. I think you have to always go back to those roots. And I remember my father used to say, if you get an education, you will have a choice, but never think you are better than the guy who pushes the broom or the person that does the front. The people be in front of the desk are just as important as you guys behind the desk. So that always really hit me, that as leadership, we really are always modeling and helping the next generation to come up. So it's been a great ride, and I really love working with um, people that want to be leaders, particularly in healthcare,
Yeah.
because I do think we're at a very serious road right now,
Yeah.
crossroads, and we need really good leaders to help us navigate this very disruptive time through transformational leadership.
It's interesting. You say healthcare. We're at this road, and I think many things are driving the direction of healthcare. You got AI popping. AI is here. It is
Oh,
changing
yeah.
the way that we look at healthcare. You got us coming out of a pandemic, and everybody using telehealth all of a sudden, where that wasn't really a thing, right? We had technology, telehealth was here, but it's really exploding now here in 2024 and in post COVID, you have, various different rules and regulations. Every politician has their agenda of how they approach healthcare and what they want to do to healthcare. So, you're a consultant, you own a business. What are some of the trends that you see that you're battling in your business?
Right. I think, and that's a very good point, because I think it's so many convergence of like the politics, the education, where we are at with the workforce. We talk about the shortage of nursing teams and that type of thing. And then you add, I always say that when I became a nursing home administrator back in 1998, there were only 350 pages of federal regs. Now there's over 2,000 pages. No
Listen,
wonder, no wonder I passed the test with flying colors. So, yeah, I do see that. I see us looking at how, I know people say this, but how do we harness AI, artificial intelligence, for the good of the resident? And how do we use technology and
yes,
robots?
yes,
And there's so many things that I really believe we have to be open to help elderly. And of course, we know with the financial component, we do need to look at how do we give the best optimum care? And maybe it's not always going to be nursing home anymore.
yeah.
Maybe it's going to be a
Ooh.
collaboration of a lot of different layers there. Or maybe long-term care is going to look so different.
You
You
know,
know,
you
I
you you mentioned though maybe it's not the nursing home, and I want to caveat on that because you said if not the nursing home then where? I've worked home care and I've worked nursing home, and it's always funny when I'm doing home care. I'm like, you don't want to go to a nursing home. That's where people get sick, they die there. And then when I'm doing long term care, I'm like, you don't want to go home because nobody's
right.
going to care for you. So, with that being said, if not a nursing home, then where? Where are people going to seek care as we start to expand?
And I think that's going to be the very important question. People are living longer. And actually, some people are living longer, healthier. And I
Yeah.
think we forget that. One thing I do like, and some of my research, and you might know more than me, DJ, but I know that Medicare is now actually embracing physical therapy and
Yes.
occupational therapy. And I think that's going huge. I think, and
Yes.
also the fact that there's PT, OT, and speech come to the person's home. So I think it's going to be a collaboration, but I always think there's going to be a role for a good, skilled nursing home,
Yeah.
because we cannot do at home with those wonderful clinical pathways and immediacy of looking at clinical care for that very compromised elderly person.
You hit
So
the
I
nail
think
on the
that's
head.
a role.
You hit the nail on the head, right? Because when we talk about the reason of a hospital, the reason of a nursing home, we have licensed and registered nurses who are there who can recognize things before anybody else, right? We look at subtle signs, right? I walk into a room and I see a person, maybe their speech is a little off today. Yesterday they recognized me by name, today they don't recognize me by name.
Right,
Maybe they don't realize that they just had a meal and they're asking for something again. Maybe I'm doing an assessment and I ask them to get the water and I realize that they can't lift their arm up. These
right.
are things that, lay people, for example, may not recognize. When you talk about PT, OT, SLP, speech therapists, they have exercises and things that they can do that you just can't do at home. They're going to push you farther than you would push yourself at home. I'm tired. I don't get out of bed. But when a therapist come in, they're going to work you to death. And the best example I can give that is people who get knees and hips, they're going home the same day. They're getting knees and hip service. They're literally going home the
Oh,
same day.
wow.
The nurse, the PT, they're getting them up and out of bed right away. Like, and they're on crutches and they're learning how to do with it, and then they're going home with home care. So I agree. People are living longer. Technology has shaped the way that we look at healthcare and do healthcare, and expanded how we treat diseases that we were not able to treat years ago. I mean, you look at HIV and AIDS, they're living very long. My mom had sickle cell. She lived to
Mm.
54 years ago. That wasn't a thing, but thank you to advancements in technology and medicine, we're able to do that. So I think you called out some great points from a long term care perspective. You're a consultant. You're hired to go into facilities and fix their issues, and your specialty is really on culture. I think you call it the 4 C's. Tell me about that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think the clarity of leadership really comes down to commitment, communication, consistency, and compassion. All those four things of having to be a leader and see past some of the difficulties and see
Yes.
some of the solutions. As kind of corny as that sounds, I think it's really, really true. Also, when you were talking, I was thinking about when I have a seminar I call You Can't Make Me, when the elders refuse to do their care plan. And I see that really, and think about it, it's like when we were going to kindergarten, right? And we didn't
Yes.
want to do something. And I think about that because I think when you're in a nursing home setting that's very positive and empowering and transformative, there's a synergy for that elderly person to do the wellness. And so that's one of the education that I think with leadership is that, when a resident says no to a care plan, I always say, is it a high, moderate, or low risk? And when does it go from self determination to self neglect to self abuse? And I think as leaders, we have to really drill into that for our residents and families to really take a deep dive look at that as leaders. So I think that consistency and compassion and clarity is so important for us to see the big picture and not just the little ones. See the big fish, the big koana, you're in Hawaii, and
Yes.
not the little wahoo fish. I'm from Wahoo, Nebraska originally, and I didn't even know there was such a fish as wahoo. And so, it is true if we see the big picture, the big fish, the big is that we're trying to fish rather than the little itsy bitsy things that keep us
Yes.
going. The last thing really fast is I also think with technology, and you said that, a DJ in America, the average American only lived to 62 back in 1935.
Wow.
And in 1968, that's why Social Security was started at 65. It was never meant to be retirement. And then in 68, under President Johnson, now we had Medicare and Medicaid and gerontology and nursing
Yes.
home. And
Yes.
so now here, and the average age was 72. Now here we are in 2024, the average American lives to 86. And if you are under 65 now and do not have a cancer or an obesity, we predict they'll live to 95. If you had a baby or a little kid that was born the last 2 years, they're expected to live 105. So that's what I think with leadership, we have to think forward.
Yes.
What the paradigm is this now, but what's going to happen in 5 years? What is a baby boomer? What is the millennium? What
Yes.
are our healthcare? I'm 70. So what are my health cares that are very different than my parents or grandparents were 70? Particularly
Yes.
my grandparents, they were all passing away in their 70s. And so here many of us in 70s are much more engaged because of good health care. So yeah, I think we have a lot of leadership to face what's going on now, but keep planning for the future.
I want to go back to something you said early on because this is what gets me. And this is the nurse in me. And I was trained by a social worker. We love to say, I was a CNA at 18, LPN, RN. I worked my way up. But my very first job was working at a local group home / rehabilitation center that specialized in brain and spinal cord injuries. The best to do it in Michigan, the best actually to do it in the nation because Michigan had that unlimited cap on auto insurance. So if you got injured, the running joke was if you got injured, get inside of a car because you're taken care of for the rest of your life in Michigan. You would never have to worry about nothing. And what that meant is the person always had therapy, always had access to quality care, 24-hour care. That's how Michigan used to do it. They don't do it like that no more. So it always bothered me when we will say a person's not following the care plan. And the reason that it bothered me is because in my day-to-day life, I'm normal. This is me. But if I go into a sniff, rehab, they're going to call me compulsive. They're going to call me
Right.
excessive. And I say that because I'm not conforming to their norm. So example I always give people when I go out to eat, if I want 2 appetizers, I get both appetizers because I want to try both. But when you're on a behavior plan or have a care plan, they're going to say, well, let's put them on a behavior plan because that's compulsive. That's not normal. And I think what we have to realize as healthcare providers is people had a life before they came to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to assess their social economical status before they came to us, their psychosocial status before they came to us. You're a social worker. I think you definitely agree. Because
Mm-hmm.
if this was me before, if I stayed up late before, you can't tell me once I get to a nursing home you can't stay up late. You just can't. and then put that as a care plan item and then say I'm non-compliant with it. How come I'm non-compliant in this facility, but for 50 years of my life,
Yeah,
it's what I've done. It's
right.
who I am. And is I think what happens is I'm a big advocate of residents' rights. I think what blows me away is we forget that once you enter into those doors, you do not lose your rights. Residents
Mhm.
do not lose their rights. Patients does not lose their rights. So as healthcare providers, you're a nursing home administrator, you're a social worker, I'm a registered nurse, I'm a nurse home administrator. I have to be mindful that this person still has rights and I have to train my team that this person, this resident, this somebody's grandma, mom, sister, auntie, brother, cousin still has rights. And just because they don't conform to what we think they should conform to doesn't mean they're being non-compliant or the all famous word they say, difficult to deal with.
I totally agree. That'll be on both of our care plans, Demetrius.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree. One of the things I did like, and I know you are a big expert in the MDS 3.0, but
Yeah.
last October, they added almost 400 more pages and we're like, oh, here we go again. But the thing I did like, it was much more, it again added another layer to talking to the resident about what was your job, who are
Yes.
your friends, what don't you like? And
Yes.
I do this thing. It's called the relationship maps, and I modified it from the Dr. McAuliffe's did it out of chemical dependency. But you literally look at the relationship of the person to the people who are actually around them in real life, real time. And then you go outer and who are the people they used to be connected to. And you do that with lifestyle and with their health,
Yeah.
because then you see that person because with the when we talk about the continuity of aging, we know that if you were a drunk horse thief when you were younger, you're probably going to be a drunk horse thief when you're older. Like our personalities are so rigid. And so rather than fighting that, I guess really fast, the one thing that I've always struggled with is and I've been a marketing director, when you take people through your nursing home, you want them to be active and happy, and then you see them sleeping. But you know what? Sleeping is restorative.
Yeah.
Sleeping, if it's not a lack of dignity, means that they are doing a lot of work, because as you get older, you need more restorative time. You need that sleep. And so, and I've seen it so many times where a family member will say to me, Lori, mom's sleeping all day. She's not sleeping well at night. Maybe that's her pattern now.
Yeah.
Maybe at night. And I did this in one nursing home, and I know, of course, nobody liked me at that point, but we got activity aides to work overnight. Because when
Nice.
residents got up, rather than trying to shoo them back to bed or put them on a medication, we started playing bingo in the middle of the night, or
Nice.
maybe doing aromatherapy or something to say, this might be their pattern now. So, yeah, I think that's important.
I'm a segue a little bit because I had a conversation, and please forgive me, I don't remember her name, but she will get a shout out via her company. Her company is Gary Gadgets. That's GaryGadgets.com. GERI-gadgets.com. And the reason that I'm shouting her out is because I had a powerful conversation with her about residents and especially demented residents and all-time residents, who are, sometimes labeled as difficult to deal
Right.
with. This young lady, she is a producer in Hollywood, well known, and her family member came down with, as they said, Alzheimer's. Well, they had misdiagnosis. It was Lewy bodies, and as you know, that's completely, it's
Totally.
different.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to kind of talk to her and how the nursing home perceived it, how the doctors perceived it, and how she kind of worked to kind of figure out that this is not the average dementia or Alzheimer's. And then she came up with some gadgets, as she called them, Jerry gadgets. I'll put that in the comments to help alleviate some of the stress and things that they have. I think one of the things that you mentioned that you did was you hired an activity person to work overnights. I think that's amazing because you're accounting for all the people who have worked nights. Plenty of people come to our jobs and they work factory jobs and they work nights, and then we have nothing for them. Come
Right.
5 o'clock, everybody goes home. Activities close up. They put the popcorn machine away. They put all the games away.
Yeah.
And then how are we being resident centered to those residents who still have needs after hours?
Mhm.
So I say that to say the Jerry gadgets, it's something that was able to be left out. It's able to be played with by multiple residents, and I was a fan of that. And kudos to you for having the foresight to say, "Hey, let me put an activities person on the midnight shift." One of the things that I pride myself on is the ability to kind of forecast and think forward. And what you just did was you thought forward. You said, how can I satisfy the needs of my residents? And you did something that was unconventional. Unfortunately, a lot of administrators, a lot of leaderships do not think forward. We're thinking too much about the bottom line versus what we're here for, which is outcomes of the residents.
Exactly. Also, what you're talking, because I really love that part. And I always say that community life happens from the first time they wake up, just like you and I. And so we started doing a program with the psychophysical balance, which is the 8 ways of Tai Chi with restorative nursing. So when they got up, they would do some of the Tai Chi moments, and they
Nice.
would do the aromatherapy, and they would do the music that means something to them. It decreased acting out when even someone was getting dressed. It didn't take that much longer for the nurses aide, and they actually kind of enjoyed the movements. I'm doing terrible Tai Chi, but they did some of the movements themselves as well. So yeah, I think that's really, really critical, because that whole emotional psychosocial is really critical. When I go in and do counseling with, or supporting with the activity directors, which I really like to call community life, because that's what
Yes.
it's all about, right? We don't do activities, we do stuff. But I always had the 4 C's of my program, which was always in your community life, making sure that they have that they have creativity. Because remember, your right and your left hand hemispheres now are working stronger together than ever before.
Yes.
Also, communication. That was the group that likes to talk. Reminiscence therapy is a therapy. And then contribute. Many people, that's, when we say, who are you? We usually talk about our job or that we're a parent or whatever. So giving them an opportunity to do meaningful crafts. I always tell this story that my mom, who's very bright, she's 94, and she'll say, Lori, and she had a college degree back in the 40s, and she'll say, Lori, even if I don't know who I am, never put me in a room with a coloring book. And now of course
Mm,
we're coloring again, but her point was, I want to do something that's meaningful, whatever decade I am. And then the fourth one, of course, is choice. Like you said, if somebody doesn't want to play bingo, my last story about one of my grandmas was, she was very much a farm lady, ran a farm. She was very pragmatic. And when she went to the nursing home, they wanted her to do those little ceramic things. She found
yeah.
that so amazingly boring. And that was not, but once you give her towels to fold,
Yeah.
or you give her tea towels to embroider, that's meaningful to her. So you're so right, we have to embrace that in the nursing home setting as well. So
You, you know, for the people that's joining us, this is Laurie Loughney. She is the CEO of Longtree Associates. She is one of the people that I would consider my mentor. She teaches hundreds, if not, I'm sure thousands of students at this time of how to become a nursing home administrator. So when I say this is your go-to person for learning how to be a nursing home administrator, learning how to be an assisted living administrator, this is your go-to person. She holds several contracts in several states where she's exclusive to teach the course to become a licensed nursing home administrator. So when we talk about experts in the field, you're looking at, I'm gonna put myself in there. You're looking at two right here on the screen.
oh
Um,
yay.
so I just want people to understand who you are and what it is that you do. So as we bring this to a close, they can definitely, as they know, find me at Your Healthcare Consultant. Follow Sound Leadership with DJ on all platforms: iHeart, Alexa, Amazon, anywhere that you go. We're portable. We're in your pocket. Of course, we're live on LinkedIn right now. We're live on YouTube right now. We're live on Instagram. We're live on TikTok. We're live on Facebook right now. But Laurie, where can they find you at?
Oh, thanks so much. And I really do love teaching the up and coming nursing home administrators. So our website is www.longtreeeducation, one word. I'm on LinkedIn. My email address is simply Laurie L at longtreeeducation.com. And we have a new website, just laurieloughney.com. And that's my keynote speaking engagements. So yeah, so we do teach the nursing home administrators course, the assisted living administrators course, certified dementia practitioner, and we have a lot of CEU approved seminars.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
we just pulled in 10 new ones that are really hitting the latest thing. And Demetrius, we didn't talk about it this time around, but the dual diagnosed mentally, a person with mental illness and dementia. And that's getting to be a huge topic for us in healthcare. How do we train our teams for mental health that we've never faced before? So it's a lot of fun, and it's absolutely been a pleasure to be here with you, Demetrius, and I'm learning from you always. Now I even know what a podcast is. So see, I'm getting there. So
Listen, it has been a pleasure. I am so grateful for you to take time out of your day. The hardest thing for me is I'm always on a different time zone than everybody else. Nobody is ever on a podcast somewhere with me that's in the same time zone. But you made it happen, and I appreciate it. And for the people out there that's watching, please like, share, retweet, all of that great stuff this episode. It's going to be more with me and Laurie as we continue to talk about the state of healthcare, especially in long-term care. And we all know that rule that just came out, right? Long-term care, the staffing mandate, and the
oh
things that go behind it. We didn't even get into that today. I want to have that a
no,
separate episode, but the staffing mandate and what goes behind it. We have the facility assessments that are due coming up, I think in August, that we have to talk about, and just everything else that's going on in long-term care. So, Laurie, thank you again for joining
oh,
me.
thank you. It's a pleasure, very much a pleasure. So
And I will be remiss without saying, hey, my name is DJ. I am the host of Sound Leadership with DJ, as well as Common Ground with SMK Medical. You can follow me at Your Healthcare Consultant. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, if you want to go back to MySpace, I'm sure I got a profile still up on MySpace. But definitely like and subscribe to Sound Leadership with DJ. I am employed through SMK Medical. Please check us out, our website, SMK Medical. We are a full-service healthcare consulting firm specializing in MDS facility, MDS mock survey, facility turnaround, facility closure if you absolutely need to, and facility launching. So please check us out, and you can visit Laurie at Longtree Associates. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It has been a pleasure.
great.